Good morning, class. This is your English teacher, Dr.H.Narendra Kumar. Right, today in this video, we are going to learn two lessons. One is an interview with Dr. A.P.J. Abdul Kalam, and another a speech by 44th President of USA, Barack Obama. Yes, we can. And then we are going to look at a couple of skills. And this is under Unit 2 of a course in Conversation Skills, Praxis 3. Well, let me begin. First of all, we are going to look at an interview entitled "A Leader Should Know How to Manage Failure." Dr. A.P.J. Abdul Kalam was among India's best-known scientists before he became the country's president. I'm talking about interviewee. The one who was interviewed was Dr. A.P.J. Abdul Kalam. Most of you as students, you know him as a president of president of India. But to make it very clear, my dear students, before being the president of India, he was a well-known scientist, the very best Indian scientist. Besides, he is an alumnus of the Madras Institute of Technology. He worked after graduating from Madras Institute of Technology from aeronautical engineering. He worked for Indian Space Research Organization, which is ISRO, for a period of 20 years, where he helped launch India's first satellite into orbit. Besides ISRO, he also worked in DRDO, where he was a scientist in developing missiles and other strategic weapons. Dr. A.P.J. Abdul Kalam was widely regarded as a national hero for leading India's nuclear weapon test in the year 1998. And in 2002, Kalam was named the country's president and held that position until 2007. So as we know that he served as a president of India for a period of 5 years, my dear students. During the Wharton Indian Economy Forum, which was held in Philadelphia, Kalam spoke with Indian knowledge at Wharton about his career. So the present interview focuses on three main elements. One is about his career as a scientist. Secondly, his vision for India's future as a president of India. And the most important, traits for a leader. These are the three main areas among other issues. Well, the first and foremost question that was asked was to talk about his past. In narrating certain events of his past, he says, he orbited Sun for 76 times, and he witnessed Second World War as he was a young boy, and he witnessed the injuries and the serious effect of wars. Besides, he is also a clear witness of independence of India in 1947. And he says he knew the beginning of India's economical growth in the year 1991. And he is also a clear witness of Green Revolution and then White Revolution, which we call it as dairy farm or milk product, and Telecom Revolution. And he is also aware of the growth of ICT, Information Communication and Technology. What does information communication and technology mean? Without information communication and technology, today you could not see me in such a way, and I could not meet you through this medium, my dear students. A teacher talking to you virtually is only because of information communication and technology. So besides all, he also says He has witnessed India's success in space program and his experience with Professor Vikram Sarabhai, the stalwart. Then coming to 6 traits as a leader, which is an important element that he has shared in this. Let me brief out what the 6 leadership traits. He says, leader, irrespective of a leader, irrespective of area, in the sense, leader, it doesn't only mean a political leader. It could be a leader in business world, it could be a leader in academic world, irrespective of the area where he is. A person to be considered as a leader, he or she should possess these 6 traits according to Dr. APJ Kalam. Leaders must have vision. It says, if a person has to be considered as a leader, that leader should have vision. Without a vision, one cannot be called as a leader. Second, he also says a leader should be able to travel into an unexplored path. Actually, then the tendency of leaders, the tendency of people is to walk in a well-laid path, to follow the track that was laid by somebody else. Right. But according to Abdul Kalam, a true leader is he who lays a path. In another way, we can say that he will travel in an unexplored path. Coming to the 3rd trait, he says a leader should know how to manage success and, even more importantly, failure. In this regard, he shares his experience as a director of PSLV 3. He says that he was given a task. He was assigned a task to complete. But when he failed his mission for the very first time, Professor Dhawan, who was the chairman of ISRO then, he took the initiation and he called for a press. And he addressed the press and he said, our team has struggled, our team has worked efficiently, but due to lack of technical support, they have failed this time. And he owned the failure of Abdul Kalam upon himself, Dr. Dhawan. And he said, our boys are eager, our boys are ready to make it once again within a year. And after a span of 1 year, they were able to come with flying colors and sending satellite Rohini into the space have been succeeded. The entire country was jubilant. And then once again, Professor Dhawan, he called Dr. Abdul Kalam aside and he said, Kalam, now it is your duty to take up, to call for the press. Through this, Kalam says, I have learned that how a leader should maintain or should manage failure. It is not through books that I have gained this experience, but it is out of my experience. He says, when they have failed as the chairman of ISRO, the failure is not of Professor Dhawan's, but the failure is of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, who is the director of the project. But when director failed, chairman took the responsibility of the failure. And when director has succeeded, chairman has endowed the success unto the team. What a wonderful experience that Abdul Kalam has. This is what he shares. Next, coming to the 4th, he says, leaders should have the courage to make decisions. You know, as leaders, many a times it happens that we need to make an abrupt decision when country is in crisis or when decisions are to be taken abruptly. Yes, a leader must be courageous enough in making decisions. And coming to the 5th, he should have nobility in management, which he says that whatever he does, let it be in a transparent manner. Let it be disclosed in the public. That's strategy. That's one of the finest traits of a leader. And then, coming to the sixth, he says, a leader must work with integrity and succeed with integrity. Integrity plays a serious role in being a leader. When we go further, as I talked to you before, his own experience of how leaders should manage failure. Let me help you. In 1973, Abdul Kalam became the project director of India's Satellites Launch Vehicle Program, that's SLV-3. And the goal that was endorsed onto him was to put India's Rohini, as I talked to you, satellite into orbit by 1980. 7 years of period was given to him. By 1979, in the month of August, the launch was ready. But before launching, the computer has signaled that something has failed. But they have bypassed and they wanted to send the satellite into the orbit through manual process. It was done, but it was a big failure. Professor Dhawan, who was then chairman, he called the press conference. And he made it very clear that due to some technological problems, we have failed. But our people are ready within a year. Yes, next year in July 1980, it was ready to launch the satellite. And this time, they have succeeded. Professor Dhawan, he called Abdul Kalam and asked him to conduct the press conference. And he narrates that that was the best experience that he had. And then, as we move further, he talks about the concept of PURA, which means providing urban amenities in rural areas. This was under Vision 2020 as a precedent to help India to be a developed nation. So, under PURA, they have planned about 7,000 PURAs for the country, providing urban amenities in rural areas for 7,000 villages, including hill puras, coastal puras, and plain PURAs. And then they have succeeded to a greater amount. After that, he was also asked about his vision 2030. How can India become energy independent by 2030? Then we come across a wonderful answer by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. He says, today, fossil fuels dominate the energy sector throughout the world. Solar, and he says, within a span of 50 to 60 years, fossil fuels also may be at extinct. So, as a president and as a visionary, he suggests 3 different energy sources that helps India to be energy independent by 2030. Out of them, one is solar power. He asks to increase the capacity of producing solar power by using nano plates. And then he also suggests nuclear energy, which is clean source of energy. And then the third, he suggests biofuel, which can be extracted from ethanol and algae, which can be found in wastelands. These 3 initiatives, as he said, can free India from dependence on fossil fuels. If you could rewind and replay your years, look at another question that he was asked. If you could rewind and replay your years as president, what might you do differently? He says, final question that he was asked. Then he says, I felt I should power the Rashtrapati Bhavan completely with solar power at the beginning of the 5th year of his reign. But environmental agencies raised a lot of questions. And before he could be able to answer those questions, fortunately, his term has ended. So the only thing that Abdul Kalam failed to accomplish, he thought, if I have accomplished that, I might have been very happy. He wanted Rashtrapati Bhavan to be the very first place in India which is completely run with solar power. But due to certain problems or certain questions that was raised from environmental agencies, and besides time, he was not able to do that. Then a final question, a last question that he was asked, that is, you are a gifted poet. Could you please recite some lines of your favorite poem? For that, he says, he recites the poem, which is his favorite poem, that is entitled The Vision. I climbed and climbed, where is the peak, my Lord? I ploughed and ploughed, where is the knowledge treasure, my Lord? I sailed and sailed, where is the island of peace, my Lord? Almighty, bless my nation with vision and sweat resulting into happiness. With this, we end the interview with Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. And now, let's move to another concept. A speech by 44th President of United States of America, Barack Obama, which entitled, Yes, We Can. He begins his speech by making it very clear that he addresses the audience and he says, tonight is an answer for majority of the questions that you hold in your hearts. And he says, the answers are told in different measures. Let us see what the answers that he had for the people of America in his victorious speech. And the speech was from Illinois. And he says, it's the answer told by lines that stretched around schools and churches in number this nation has never seen. He talked about people gathering to cast their votes, the enthusiasm that they have. And he says this enthusiasm proved that people of USA are seeking for change. It's the answer spoken by young, not only just young, but also old, rich and poor, Democratic and Republican, black, Republicans. He also says blacks, white, Hispanic, Asian, Native Americans, gays, straights, disabled and not disabled. He encourages people, making it very clear that it is not just one community, it's not that one race that supported Obama, that sought for a change, but majority of the people. So he says this is an answer. It's the answer, coming to the third, it's an answer that led those who have been told for so long by so many to be cynical and fearful and doubtful about what we can achieve. So he says tonight is an answer for all these questions. Besides, he also says that how his campaign has begun from, how he was able to succeed in his elections. He says, we didn't start our campaign with much money or many endorsements. Our campaign was not hatched in the halls of Washington, as many do. We know how the politicians today are. When talking about our own India, well, we collect money from various number of people, huge amount of money. But he says, my campaign has not been hatched in halls of Washington, but look, it drew strength from the young people who rejected the myth of their generation's apathy. It drew strength from the not so young, not only just young, but also from people who braved, not so young, but old, who braved the bitter cold and scorching heat to knock on doors of perfect strangers. And he also says, America, you know, the way that we have, the road ahead will be so long, our climb will be so steep, We may not get there in a 1 year or even in one term. Whatever that you want me to do, whatever that I have planned to do, I may not fulfill that in just one term. He makes it very clear that I am eager to do the best to America. I'm eager to provide employment to America, to provide a wonderful life to the citizens of America. But it may not happen just in a single term. It may take time. Besides, it cannot happen with only one man, that's me. I want a collective support. I want each and everybody to join their hands with me. Hand, brick by brick, with calloused hands. Come on, let's work together and let us accomplish our dream. This is what he says. But America, I have never been more hopeful than that I am tonight will get there. And besides, he also says it can happen, it cannot happen without you, as I said, without a new spirit of service, a new spirit of sacrifice. So he gives a call. He throws an opportunity to the people of America, stating that, come on, fill up yourself with a new spirit of service. Come on. Let the spirit of new sacrifice kindle in your hearts. This, besides, he also narrates wonderful experiences. He talks about various members, his colleagues, who helped him a lot. He greets the people in and around the world who are watching his speech through different media. And he also warns those people who wanted to tear the world into pieces. And he says, those who seek peace, we are with you. Finally, he shares one of his experiences, which is vital. This election, as he says, had many fists and many stories that will be told for generations together. Out of them, he narrates a story about 106-year-old woman named Ann Nixon Cooper. She was born just a generation past slavery, a time when there were no cars on the road or planes in the sky. He also says when someone like her could not vote for two main reasons. One, because she is a woman, and secondly, because of her color. So with that, he concludes whatever he's supposed to say. And he's very keen. He says that he's very strong and he's very bold. He says, yes, we can. America will see a wonderful future in the days to come. And he promises them and he encourages them. And he kindles the spirit that yes, we can. Someday we shall overcome every tribulation, every trial that we have. He says, I am sure and I promise you. He concludes his speech by blessing Americans. May God bless you. May God bless America. With this, we end the speech by Barack Obama entitled Yes, We Can. Now, let's go further ahead. Let's look at some skills, right? Now, let us look at a skill, making requests. Looking at making requests. What do we mean by making requests? Sometimes we want others to do us a favor or we want something from them. We know, right? Man is a social animal. We know this. We are a part and parcel of society. We want many things to be done. We want to help others and we want to seek help from others, right? In that context, we make requests. Let's see what they are. Sometimes we want others to do us a favor or we want something from them. In this case, we have to know how to make polite requests. However, there are two different kinds of requests that we need to know. One is direct request and the other is indirect request. Let's see what direct requests are. Direct requests are formed when we ask people to do something for us directly. Well, in this case, it seems we are giving order to people which is not considered more polite. For example, let us see. You are waiting for a vehicle, somebody has stopped, and if you say unto them like this, drive me home without using please or could you please, nothing else, just using expression, drive me home, then pass me the salt. You are in a dining table, you are in need of salt, but how do we make this? Look at that. As I said, there are direct requests and as well as indirect requests too. So the direct request says, drive me home, pass me the salt. But coming to indirect requests, these indirect requests are considered more polite for your understanding. We need to understand this. They are formed when we use some modal verbs to make requests. We do know that we make use of modal verbs. Well, in order to make our speech smoother, to soften the request and make more polite. For example, say, could you give me the keys, please? Could you help me dropping me at home? Or will you take it? This is how we do, right? Let's see some more requests using certain modal auxiliaries. Using can. The modal verb can is used to make requests. It is considered less formal, and you should know that it is followed by a bare infinitive, that is to. Can you turn up the lights? Can you answer my phone? Using could. Could you call me later? So could refers to the requests that are made at a present time. Well, could makes the request more formal, we need to understand. So let's look at another example. Could you do my homework, please? So it appears more formal, am I right? It sounds so smooth. Then using will, the modal verb will is used to make requests. Remember, it is followed by a bare infinitive and it is considered less formal even. Will you close the window, please? It is cold outside. Will you pick up to the party? So using will. Next, using would. Would is another modal verb that is used to make indirect questions. Actually, it is considered more formal as well. Would you come over? I need to talk to you. Would you fill up the car on your way home? Look at that. The modal verb would is also used in an expression that makes it more polite to make requests. This is what you need to understand. Would you mind washing the dishes? So using as gerund form, ing form. Would you mind paying for the lunch? Look, word combines with ing form of a verb. Would you mind paying for the lunch? I forgot my purse. Next, coming to please. We can use the term please after the pronoun or at the end of the interrogative sentence to make the request even more polite. Remember, the important point is to use a comma before the term please. Well, can you please help to paint the walls? Then, would you remind me to take the keys, please? Using please. Making request, asking someone to do something for you. Well, making a request. These are three most common ways for making request. One, as we say, could you, would you mind, can you? We have already seen, right? Let's go through once again. Could you open the door for me, please? Would you mind opening the door for me, please? Can you open the door for me, please? Let me help you with a speaking tip. Could and can are followed by the verb without to. Would you mind is followed by the verb and ing form of the verb. Well, next, looking at making request, asking if you can do something. Here are the four most common ways for making request when you want to do something. Can I use your computer, please? Next, use of modal auxiliary could. Could I borrow some money from you, please? Then, do you mind if I turn up the heating? Next, would you mind if I turned up the heating using do you mind and would you? Well, let me give one more speaking tip over here. Could is more polite than can. Do you mind if, look, is followed by the verb in the present tense. But would you mind if is followed by the verb in the past tense. When you are using these two sentences, don't use please. This is something that you need to note. It's already polite expressions. There are 10 examples of polite requests that you can make at home. Mom, can you close the door please? Honey, can you please eat with your mouth closed? Can you shut the window? The room is already too cold. Anna, can you bring me the newspaper please? Bob, will you stop bothering mom? She's working. Hey, can you please receive the parcel? I'm going to take a shower. Could you get me a cup of coffee? Will you stop making noise? I can't concentrate on my study. Could you feed something to the baby? Could you turn off the lights? Please, I can't sleep. So these are some examples of polite requests that we can make at home. Right, make at school. 10 examples of polite requests which we can make at school. Teacher, would you mind giving me detailed feedback on my homework? Can you pass me that book? Could you please help me with my homework? I was wondering if you could write a recommendation letter for me. I was wondering if it would be possible for you to send me the feedback tomorrow. Could you please keep quiet? Can you please change your seat? Could you show me the way to the library? Can you please hold this book for me? Will you pass the ball? Well, then polite requests at home, at work. We have been at home, at school, and now let's look at work. Could you give me some time after lunch? I was wondering if you could reschedule the meeting for next week. Could you please send me the project files in zip format? Look what are the words that we are making it use. Well, do you mind passing me the stapler? I was wondering if it would be possible for you to write a short description of the project for our website. Would you please take your seat? Would you please hand me the mic? John, would you mind helping Sarah in preparing the draft budget? Thanks in advance. Could you possibly meet me next week at the office? Could you telephone me in the afternoon? So we have been through examples at home, examples, right, a polite request that we can make at school and at workplace even. Well, for your convenience, I have been giving a few more examples regarding polite requests. Well, let us see 10 more examples that we can use. Can you add some extra cheese? Can you please make it a double? Excuse me, would you mind leaving this seat for this old lady? Do you mind passing me the salt? Can you play some soft music? Could you please arrange one more table for us? Such you can go through. Well, in public place. Alright. So these are some of the examples that we can see. Let me end up our class reading out these 10 more examples which helps you to express polite request at public place when you are among people. Well, would you mind moving aside? Instead of saying, side please, right? Would you mind moving aside? Could you please press level 5? When we are into elevator, a lift, we just ask somebody, 5th floor please. Right now, could you please press level 5? Could you tell me how to get to the supermarket? Do you mind giving me a hand with my luggage? Asking somebody's help. Would you mind holding the baby for me? I wonder if you could help me hire a taxi. I'm pretty new here. Could you please keep an eye on my dog? I'll be right back. Could you please open the door for that old lady? I wonder if you could drive a little faster. So, dear students, with this, I'm going to conclude our class. Hope you have understood, and just go back once again and have a look at all the examples that I have mentioned to you on the slides that were presented over here. And I hope you will get the best, and I hope that you will understand it. You have understood it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Have a good day. Thank you.